Hello, and welcome to Being Green in Lower Merion. I'm Margaret Thompson.
And I'm Michael Davis. In this show, we're going to look at ways to make our lives more sustainable at home, work, and well, on the planet. The need to be more sustainable is becoming more and more clear each day. Every day there's another news story about how we impact the world around us. We need to be proactive and try to be greener in our day-to-day lives.
One of the ways we impact the world around us is how we affect our drinking water.
The United States enjoys one of the world's most reliable and safest supplies of drinking water. Congress passed the Safe Drinking Water Act in 1974 to protect public health, including regulating public water systems. The Safe Drinking Water Act requires EPA to establish and enforce standards that public drinking water systems must follow. EPA delegates primary enforcement responsibility for public water systems to states and Indian tribes if they meet certain requirements. Approximately 150,000 public water systems provide drinking water to most Americans. Customers that are served by a public water system can contact their local water supplier and ask for information on contaminants in their drinking water and are encouraged to request a copy of their Consumer Confidence Report. This report lists the levels of contaminants that have been detected in the water, including those by EPA, and whether the system meets the state and EPA drinking water standards.
EPA works to provide information and encourage partnerships for source water protection planning. Under the Safe Drinking Water Act and Clean Water Act, EPA provides tools to protect source water. Many other federal agencies also have a role in protecting drinking water sources. Land management, agriculture, wildlife, scientific, and public health agencies also work to protect the quality and quantity of source water through management practices, research, data sharing, funding, and public outreach and education. One of the ways we get our water is through our estuaries, where the rivers meet the sea. Watch and learn why these vital waterways of life, culture, and economic growth should be protected and restored.
When you mix the fresh water of the river with the salt water of the sea, something wonderful happens. As if by magic, a life-supporting habitat is created for hundreds of species of fish, birds, and mammals. It's called an estuary. This protected body of water, often partially enclosed by reefs, barrier islands, or fingers of land, is distinct from all other places on Earth. In fact, it's irreplaceable. For you see, estuaries are the most productive ecosystems on Earth, containing more life per square inch than the richest farmland or deepest forest. There are over 100 estuaries in the United States, which are home to tens of thousands of fish, birds, mammals, unique plant communities, and over 110 million people. 70% of the entire United States population visits an estuary every year. People and wildlife love estuaries for their many beautiful and diverse habitats, including sandy beaches, fresh and saltwater marshes, rocky shores, shellfish beds, mangrove forests, river deltas, seagrass meadows, and wooded swamps. These special places are the most popular on Earth, yet not many of their inhabitants or visitors even know what they're called. Many of us, in fact, boat, swim, surf, and fish in an estuary without even knowing it's an estuary. Estuaries lead the world in life support, critically serving as places to live, eat, and reproduce for tens of thousands of birds, fish, and mammals. They are ideal spots for migratory birds to drop in and enjoy some R&R, and act as five-star hotels for fish and mammals. Estuaries are known as the nurseries of the sea, as their sheltered waters are perfect for spawning. Thousands of marine animals depend on estuaries at some point in their life. They are truly the real Magic Kingdom. Estuaries also house unique plant communities. Salt marsh grasses and other estuarine plants help to prevent pollution, erosion, floods, and stabilize our shoreline. Wow, all that and beautiful too. In addition to creating a food web for the multitudes of fish, birds, and mammals, estuaries also provide habitat for 75% of America's commercial fish catch and 80 to 90% of the recreational fish catch for our human dining pleasure. Estuaries are where the environment truly is the economy. Commercial and recreational fishing, boating, and tourism provide for more than 28 million jobs. And fishing alone generates $111 billion each year. More than $10 billion is spent on recreational boating products and services. Coastal recreation and tourism generate $12 billion annually. Estuaries are also important to our quality of life and our health for reasons other than our economy. They often serve as the heart of the community, a gathering place for community life, traditions, and celebrations. They are invaluable laboratories for scientists and students. They are the inspiration for artists and nature lovers. Estuaries are national treasures, vital places whose well-being affects our health and the vitality of our communities and economy. They are irreplaceable and must be managed carefully for the mutual benefit of all who enjoy and depend on them. We are, unfortunately, loving our estuaries to death. Half the American population now lives in coastal areas, and coastal counties continue to grow at a rate 3 times faster than inland counties. As our love for these special places called estuaries grows, so does their human population, and thus the demands imposed on these beautiful natural resources. Without proper management, we could kill the very goose that lays the golden egg. It is the mission of the National Estuary Program to restore and protect America's nationally significant estuaries.
We have to take a break. When we come back, we'll look at what state and local governments are doing to help protect our drinking water system. See you soon. Hello, and welcome back to Being Green in Lower Merion. I'm Mike Davis.
And I'm Margaret Thompson. We're talking about protecting our drinking water. State and local governments play a critical role in protecting source water. They are well positioned to help tailor protective actions to local situations. States have source water assessment programs that support communities and utilities assess and protect their drinking water sources. All state governments completed source water assessments for public water systems in the early 2000s, and some states have requirements to update these assessments regularly. Some states also provide resources to help fund local protection activities, such as wellhead protection programs for groundwater and watershed management programs for surface water. Some states use their drinking water state revolving fund set-asides to fund these programs. Local governments can develop zoning requirements to protect source waters, for example, to ensure that activities using hazardous materials are not located near water supplies. Localities can also protect source water by implementing land use controls through land acquisition or conservation easements. State and local governments can also provide technical assistance and useful data sets for the source water assessment process, including high-resolution land use, land cover mapping, water quality monitoring data, and information on the location of on-site septic systems or private drinking water wells.
Here's a short video on Nick Dugan. Nick Dugan is an environmental engineer working in EPA's Cincinnati laboratory. He is currently focused on bench-scale trials evaluating the impact of common drinking water treatment oxidants on intact, toxic-producing cyanobacteria cells over a range of water quality conditions. Nick is working hard to protect our water and making it safe.
Every single day I get to go to work and I do something that hopefully helps make the water that comes out of the tap safer. My name is Nicholas Dugan and I'm an environmental engineer, and I've been working for the Environmental Protection Agency for 17 years, and I perform bench and pilot scale drinking water treatment studies to look at the most efficient and cost-effective way of removing a wide range of contaminants from drinking water. Alcohol toxins, they are a big problem nationally, and they show up in at least half of the states in the union. So it is definitely a nationwide problem, and there's a couple of major reasons for why these blooms are harmful. Most freshwater harmful algal blooms are caused by a bacteria that photosynthesizes. They're called cyanobacteria, and they release several different types of toxins, and these toxins affect the body in two main ways. The first is there's one type of toxin that affects the central nervous system, and there's another type of toxin that affects the liver. We as an agency need to understand how these cyanobacteria, how their cells, and also the toxins that these cells produce, how they actually move through a drinking water treatment plant, and where in the water treatment plant in the existing facilities are they most effectively removed. My hope with the algal blooms is that the information that I help to generate is something that practicing consulting engineers and managers at drinking water utilities will be used by them to work collaboratively to essentially figure out a way to cost-effectively upgrade or change the operation of their treatment facilities to lower the probability of the consuming public coming to harm from these toxins. I go to work every day. I know I'm doing the right thing, because drinking water, the water that comes out of your tap, is important to every single person in this country.
You can help make a difference in our drinking water by doing simple, little steps. Use and dispose of harmful materials properly. Don't pour hazardous waste down the drain, on the ground, or into storm sewers. This could contaminate the soil, groundwater, or nearby surface water. A number of products used at home contain hazardous or toxic substances that can contaminate ground or surface waters, such as motor oil, pesticides, leftover paints or paint cans, mothballs, flea collars, household cleaners, and a number of medicines. EPA's Household Hazardous Waste Program has more advice on how to safely manage and reduce the use of these materials. Be sure to check it out.
Think twice about lawn and garden chemicals. Limit the use of pesticides or fertilizers, and always follow the label directions. Many fertilizers and pesticides contain harmful chemicals which can travel through the soil and contaminate groundwater or run off in stormwater to rivers, streams, and lakes. EPA evaluates pesticides to ensure that they are used according to label directions. They will not harm people, non-target species, or the environment.
Groundwater can be contaminated by poorly or untreated household wastewater, which poses dangers to drinking water and to the environment. Malfunctioning septic systems release bacteria, viruses, and chemicals to local aquifers and waterways. The average household septic system should be inspected at least every 3 years by a septic service professional. Household septic tanks are typically pumped every 3 to 5 years. Alternative systems with electrical float switches, pumps, or mechanical components should be inspected more often, generally once a year.
Dispose of your medications properly. In homes that use septic tanks, prescriptions, and over-the-counter drugs flushed down the toilet can leach into the ground and seep into groundwater. In cities and towns where residents are connected to wastewater treatment plants, prescriptions and over-the-counter drugs poured into the sink or flushed down the toilet can pass through the treatment system and enter rivers and lakes. These water sources may flow downstream to community drinking water supplies. Water treatment plants are generally not equipped to routinely remove medicines. EPA encourages the public to take advantage of pharmaceutical take-hat collection programs that accept prescriptions or over-the-counter drugs, as these programs offer a safe and environmentally conscious way to dispose of unwanted medicines.
We have to take another break. When we come back, we'll look at the city of Camden, New Jersey, and how they decided to embrace sustainability and how that affected the city. Stay with us.
Hello, and welcome back to Being Green in Lower Merion. I'm Michael Davis.
And I'm Margaret Thompson. We've been focusing on drinking water, but let's not forget flooding, drainage, stormwater management, all play an important role in our source of water.
Here's a short video on Camden, New Jersey, and how they embrace sustainability to make their community better.
So there's about 80,000 people living in Camden, and at times the tree canopy coverage here has been about 10%. That's not a healthy community. People here are disproportionately affected by air pollution. There are serious flooding issues, combined sewer systems.
All the sewage from Camden County comes to this plant. That orange and pink thing over there is a trash incinerator. All the trash from the county goes to that area. You have all this industry, see all these stacks. Still within this 1 square mile, you have 2 Superfund sites and 28 known DEP contaminated sites, all in 1 square mile. And that's why New Jersey DEP considered this one of the top environmental justice priorities in the whole state.
This area here, especially this block here, was one of the worst areas in crime in the city of Camden for murders, for drugs, and trash and debris and so forth like that for over 50 years.
In 2013, EPA facilitated a partnership with the city, county, and state DEP, launching the Camden Collaborative Initiative to improve pressing environmental issues and disparities, helping Camden become a sustainable city.
One thing that's really interesting about the Camden Collaborative Initiative is that there are no compacts or binding agreements between the partners. There's no consent order. These are all partners that are voluntarily working together to try to deal with and address Camden City's environmental issues. So as a clean water utility, our first goal, of course, was to clean the Delaware River and keep it safe from water quality impacts. But we wanted to make sure that we did that without adversely affecting our neighbors, which are only 100 yards away from our wastewater treatment plant. So we spent, using the state revolving fund, over $50 million in odor control improvements. The second component was to be a good neighbor. To that end, we've constructed rain gardens throughout Camden City to reduce the combined sewage flooding problem.
The Waterfront South Rain Gardens Park project turned an abandoned gas station into a rain garden park, and that was the first project to mitigate stormwater problems in the city that evolved into the Camden SMART program, and is a model for the state of New Jersey to address water infrastructure problems.
Other Camden Collaborative Initiative projects also deal with stormwater, flooding, and combined sewer overflow.
We're here in Bonita Park, which is sort of the cornerstone and greatest examples of one of our sustainability initiatives here in the city of Camden. So you may hear some of the children playing in the background and see the playground equipment behind me. But this is also a site that suffers from severe flooding issues. Their number one issue, of all the issues that they could choose from in this neighborhood, they chose the flooding as their number one concern. It's a health hazard because it's a combined sewage problem, so there's sewage water that comes up in this park. These fields, after a 1-inch rainfall and they're filled with water, they are unusable for days and weeks at a time.
In addition, Baldwin's Run, a stream that used to flow through the area, will be restored.
It also provides the first point of access to the river for this entire Kramer Hill neighborhood, which has about 3 miles of waterfront property, all of which is inaccessible to the public. Besides the value of the flooding mitigation for this project, the community benefit of being able to access the water really can't be discounted.
Another initiative project focuses on urban reforestation to enhance the quality of life in Camden.
What I love about our Camden program is that it brings the gift of trees and the gift of nature right to people's front doors. Our program here in Camden is called the Urban Airshed Reforestation Program. We find communities that don't have trees and people that want to bring trees to their neighborhoods or to their community gardens, and we partner with them to make that happen.
When you see the before and then the after, that's what takes you back, because once you see the finished product, to me, to you, it's normal. You come, just like this street right here, you come down the street and you say, what's the big deal? This is what I see in my neighborhood. Well, yes, that's exactly the point. That's what we want you to see, normality. What people deserve is just a normal, regular life, right? But to other people, they see this as something special. But to you guys, you see this all every day around your area. You see flagpoles up, you see flower boxes, you see benches in front of people's homes and things like that. But in the urban areas, it's not common to see that. And when you throw in the trees first, you bring a sense of hope that something good is actually happening for you in front of your home.
The initiative also focuses on creating open spaces throughout the city.
We've had a presence in the city of Camden since 1985, and over that period of 30 years, we have been integral in integrating the Camden Greenways into the city master plan. We've secured some easements along the Cooper River, and currently we are working on Gateway Park, which is going to provide 25 acres of open space to Camden City's residents and 1 mile of trail. I'm a Camden native. I grew up in the Parkside neighborhood, which is just on the other side of the Cooper River. The first park I ever went to was called Farnham Park, and I wasn't able to spend an awful lot of time in that park when I was growing up because of the condition of this 25-acre parcel here. Some of the seedy activities that happened along this corridor carried up into the neighborhood, so I wasn't allowed to spend a lot of time there. So this is really where it all began for me, and I find it providence that I'm here at this point, many years later, to have the opportunity to convert Gateway Park into something that's for public use and enjoyment in perpetuity.
Personally, as a Camden resident, someone who grew up in the city and realized the importance of creating an environment where people want to live, work, and play. Your zip code should not also determine what the quality of the environment is that you live in.
The initiative created a riverfront park in the Waterfront South neighborhood, a neighborhood that until recently had no waterfront access despite bordering the Delaware River.
So when an abandoned factory came up for sale, we obtained an open space grant from our county to purchase the property. We obtained funding from the EPA and the NJDEP through the State Revolving Fund to demolish the factory and replace it with a riverfront park that does many things. First, it provides riverfront access to our community. Second, it eliminates the contaminated soil and the contaminated runoff into the Delaware River. It eliminated 5 acres of impervious surface and replaced it with 5 acres of pervious surface, capturing 5 million gallons of stormwater per year, which reduces the combined sewage flooding problem in Camden. So it's the perfect example of collaboration and a win-win approach.
On a beautiful August day in the Waterfront South neighborhood, community members celebrated the opening of a waterfront walkway connecting the Fish Pier to the new Phoenix Park. This was an example of EPA and the Camden Collaborative working with faith-based partners to make a visible difference. Andy Cricken honored Father Doyle who had been a proponent of community open space for decades.
Look around you, and this is the monument to Father Doyle. This has been his dream and his vision. You can look everywhere in our community in Waterfront South and the difference that he has made, whether it be this fishing pier or the Phoenix Park and the riverfront. We are so lucky to have him in our neighborhood.
Father Doyle recites his poem, which embraces Camden's environment and community effort to protect it.
O Camden, Camden, rise up and live. Your river mother is always young. She'll give you birth as she did before and break her water in the shining sun.
Well, that's all the time we have for this month. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you have any questions or want to learn more, please check out epa.gov. I'm Margaret Thompson.
And I'm Michael Davis. And we will see you next month on Being Green in Lower Merion. Remember, reduce, reuse, and recycle.